Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow Rezolvians, welcome back to the channel. Oh, let's turn on the light. I almost forgot. We're going to be going over my thoughts around Rezolve and around this market for this upcoming week. Okay, Rezolve came off of a really strong day on Friday. Is that strength going to continue? Or are we going to see potentially some downside pressure coming for Rezolve? As you guys know, this is my largest single stock position. This is a company where I have identified as under the radar AI opportunity, right? It's trading at less than 3 times sales. It's the cheapest AI stock on the markets by a mile. Okay, the stock is about 3 times cheaper even than when I first bought the stock. The stock when I first bought it was trading at about 10 times sales. Today it's 3 times sales. Even if the valuation went back to what it was then, which was still undervalued relative to other AI stocks, you're looking at the stock that's going to be almost $15, or right around $15 a share. Okay, the stock has significant upside opportunity over the next 12, 24, 36 months. When I first bought Rezolve, I did not buy the stock with a 1 week, 1 month, or 3 month time horizon. Okay, I don't sell stocks that I bought just because the price goes down. And I know that's difficult for a lot of people to understand. This is a stock that I'm investing in, right? Not trading in. With that said, I have been buying the stock recently. I bought the stock just, I believe it was Thursday, maybe Friday, when it was around the low $4 range. Okay, it did again have a good day on Friday, but I want to make this very clear. This is not a stock that I'm looking to trade, no matter what happens in this upcoming week, until the company starts to do things that I do not agree with, which has not happened yet, until the company gets bought out. Because a buyout, the price is just going to go straight up to the buyout price. There's no more upside at that point. I'm not going to sell the stock, right? Just because the stock comes down, if the business, everything stays the same and is doing well, that is just an opportunity. And that is how I have been viewing this recent sell-off, okay? And again, it's not just Rezolve. It's basically all your small cap AI stocks. They've all sold off. It's not just Rezolve. Okay, so wanted to just put that out there in case anyone was a little confused. I'll share my position in this video as well. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. If you guys want to come trade with us, come join the trading community. Linked down below in the description of today's episode. Now, there is some exciting things that I'm seeing on a technical basis. Okay, the stock is on the oversold side. The RSI is at 39.96, call it 40. It hit a recent low on the RSI of around 36, so that 5% move, well, 4.89% move Friday in regular trading, up another almost 1% in after hours trading, did bring the RSI up a couple of points. But just to get back to 50, you're probably looking at another really good day or two. Okay, that doesn't guarantee it's going to happen. It just means you've seen a lot of selling in the stock recently, and, risk reward, it's not going to take a lot for the stock to make another move higher. Now, something else I pointed out on Friday was this triple bottom. Okay, we've seen a triple bottom at the exact same price 3 days. On October 22nd, the stock hit a low intraday at $4.06. On Thursday, October 30th, the stock hit an intraday low of $4.06. And on Friday, the stock hit an intraday low of $4.06. There's a lot of demand and a lot of support coming in at that level. Typically, when you get these triple bottoms, it's a good sign that a upside reversal could be, coming soon. And with the strong rally we had on Friday, the, momentum that really led into the end of the day, considering, again, it's a Friday, like, if you're going to buy a stock over a weekend, you better have a good reason for it, right? Normally, you're not going to see all this buying pressure on a Friday heading into a weekend unless Wall Street is pretty confident that that strength is going to continue into the following week. Now, you're also sitting, your 100-day moving average is at about $4.02, so that makes sense why you had that support around $4.06. So from a technical perspective, the stock looks good at this point. I also want to point this out again. Rezolve put out their last press release on October 30th. And Rezolve does this. They put out press releases most of the time that are insignificant, that don't really mean anything. Well, I commented on this and said, can we get a PR for a contract? This has 103 likes. About half of them came organically from X. The other half of them, about 50 of them or so, came from you guys that are liking it after the fact, after watching this video. It's important, okay, that I'm going to point this out because the company pays attention to feedback from retail investors. I told the company when they bought SubSquid and SmartPay that they needed to disclose how much they paid for those companies because Wall Street was a little nervous that they paid a bunch of money, they had just raised capital, that another dilution round was coming. We found out that they bought those companies for essentially dirt cheap, and the stock like that. Okay, now obviously the markets have went through, you know, their own issues recently. And we've seen the stock sell off regardless. But this is going to, you know, potentially spark the company to start talking about some of their contracts. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised if this week the company responds in a way by issuing a press release on a contract, which is really what the stock needs. If this stock gets good news, any way, shape, or form, in this week, the stock is going to have a significant upside move given the valuation, given the fact the stock has been suppressed for so long, but also the broader market conditions. Wall Street has had some time now to digest the Fed. The Fed was bullish. Like, if anyone tells you the Fed was bearish, they don't know what they're doing. The Fed was bullish. They ended QT, started QE. There's reports that the Fed purchased about $30 billion in assets over this weekend. There's a little bit of an issue happening in the SFR rate, the repo rate versus the federal funds rate. The repo rate should not exceed the federal funds rate, okay? It has been recently. That's a little bit of a problem. Long story short, back in 2019, there was a reverse repo crisis, and it prompted the Fed to inject hundreds of billions of dollars into that market to stabilize things. Well, that is stimulative, okay? And some Fed officials are nervous that there could be a liquidity issue in the reverse repo market coming. I know it's complicated, but basically the Fed is starting the process of accommodating that market, which is historically really good for stocks. So the Fed was bullish, okay? And I know I could make like a 20-minute long video on just that whole process and what's going on there, but this is nothing to be concerned with. Basically means the Fed is there. They're providing a little bit of liquidity, and they'll provide more if they need to, okay? So the Fed was bullish. Mega cap tech earnings all beat earnings, okay? They raised AI CapEx. It's alive and well. There's some digestion that's happening with these two events, but they're very bullish, okay? We also had Trump China, okay? Trump lowered tariffs on China 10%. Looks like we're getting along better with China. That's great, okay? That is also good news. The markets, the NASDAQ was down 1.5% the day after Trump lowered tariffs 10% on China. That in and of itself makes absolutely zero sense. Okay? And I'm expecting that this week, Wall Street's digesting all of this over the weekend, and you're going to see a positive reaction in the markets. So I think we're going to have a broader market rally this week. We do have some economic data, ISM services, manufacturing data. But more focus is likely going to be on earnings. AMD, Uber, Shopify, Spotify, Arista, Supermicro, Robinhood, McDonald's, The Trade Desk, Archer, Enodata, Airbnb, Palantir, Hims and Hers, Novitas, okay? which there's no reason to think these earnings are going to be bad, considering like this has been one hell of an impressive earnings season so far, even with the high expectations. This is the highest expectations we've had in a very long time. Okay, so all should be good there. I mean, maybe it won't be, but it should be. Now, I do want to do something a little bit different in this video as well. Again, here is one of my positions in one of my portfolios in Rezolve. Current market value $61,628, up $19,226, or up 45.5%. Average cost $2.99. Shares at 14,200. Portfolio diversity 38.90%. I want to take a look at the options for this week. So you guys have a gauge to kind of look at to see what the options market is pricing in for Rezolve, okay? Because every week you can look and see what the options are pricing in. So I'm just going to use the 450 strike, the call. And basically what you do is you add the call at the money and you add the same put at the money. So it's going to be the $4 put here. You add those together, the option, price. So add 0.20 plus 0.15. That gives you 35. Okay, 0.35, 35 cents, if you will. Then you divide that. So that's basically what the markets are pricing in that Rezolve will move this week is 35 cents. But you divide that by the current share price of the stock, and boom, the markets are pricing in about an 8% move for Rezolve. So if we get a larger move than that, you're getting an outsized move, and you might start to see a little bit of a gamma squeeze kick in. Okay, some of these other strikes might start to go in the money, and that could trigger incrementally more buying. Like if we get above the $5 call, $5 price, that's not priced in by the markets right now. You have almost 1,000 contracts that would, contribute to about 100,000 shares that would be bought. Okay, just from the hedging, let alone if we get news or something else happens. Okay, so stock's pricing at about 8%. And I think, honestly, we could move a little bit more than that this week, just given how positive last week's events were. And I'm sure Rezolve seen the amount of likes that comment got. It got more likes than the whole post that Rezolve made. The post Rezolve made got 79 likes. That comment has 103 likes. So I think Rezolve's going to want to give us some good news. If that happens, you could be looking at a significantly better week than 8%. Now, Trump says that President Xi assured him that China won't take action on Taiwan while he's in the White House. So, that's kind of ominous if you live in Taiwan or ominous in general. But, this is something that Wall Street has to price in. The black swan event that China invades Taiwan, I mean, look at all the semiconductors produced in Taiwan. Like, that would not be good at all. Okay, so maybe we can relax on that nervousness a little bit. Now, Treasury Secretary Bessent says that SNAP food benefits could restart by Wednesday. There's some talk over this weekend that we might get the government actually open and funded by Wednesday or Thursday of this upcoming week. So if that happens, that's also going to be really good. Now, Donald Trump on Friday said, quote, "I do not want Americans to go hungry just because the radical Democrats refuse to do the right thing and reopen the government." The president wrote, "Therefore, I have instructed our lawyers to ask the court to clarify how we can legally fund SNAP as soon as possible." So you might get the government reopening this week, and that's really the last big domino to fall in terms of fear catalyst to get this market into an aggressive rally into the end of the year. Earnings are good. Fed is good. China tensions, trade tensions in general seem to be dying down. You get the government reopened, and there's really nothing left, stopping this market unless we start to get really bad economic data, recession concerns, or, who knows what could happen. But out of the things that we do know, we're knocking down these risk catalysts. We knocked down a lot of them last week, and the final one might get knocked out this week. And if that happens, yeah, you're going to be looking at significantly more upside than 8% for Rezolve. Okay, so it's kind of stupid. I was trying to show you guys the position size in public. For some, however it happened, I got logged out of public on my computer, and it has to send you one of those phone number codes, and I'm on a cruise ship, so like phone's in airplane mode, so I can't get into public on my computer, but I can on my phone. But position hasn't changed, at least I don't think so. Yeah, maybe I did buy a little bit more. Yeah, I now have 15,500 shares in the public portfolio. Current value $67,115. Total cost $51,659. Up $15,455, or up about 30%. The average cost basis, it doesn't look like it says here, but it's going to be around the $3.40, $3.30 area. So 15,500 shares plus 14,200 shares plus 1,000 shares in Webull plus 1,300 shares in Thinkorswim plus the 1,500 options, shares worth of options. That now brings total exposure to 33,500 shares times $4.33. We're looking at a total position size of about $145,055 in Rezolve. So again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. Like, this is going to be a $1 million position for me, or it's going to be a 6-figure loss if the company is a fraud or there's something, we're dramatically missing. But I don't think that's the case, obviously, or I wouldn't have the money invested in Rezolve. And I do think agentic commerce, it's in its baby stage, where a lot of Wall Street hasn't even caught on to the potential here. Like, there hasn't been hype around this area, and I do think there will be, to some degree, hype around agentic AI and commerce when there is so few players, right? Rezolve, it's not like a super saturated market where everyone has, agentic commerce applications. And most people don't even know Rezolve exists. And I think once people start to catch on is when that valuation goes from 3 times sales to something more reasonable, like even 10 times sales again, 12 times, 15 times, or on the higher side, 20, 30 times sales would be more of the, bull case assumption, which would put the stock $15 to $50 a share or more next year. And that's the idea. I think we're going to rally into the end of this year, and then next year things really get crazy as the company executes, potentially starts putting out some of their PRs around contracts. We can get some better news flowing. You get the idea. So let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comment section. I think it's going to be a good week. Could be a really good week, but I think at the minimum, it's going to be a good week. Good little recovery week, to say the least. So join the trading community if you guys would like to. Link down below in the description of today's episode. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.